Welcome to the online resource designed for faculties of history in regional secondary schools across New South Wales. The purpose of this resource is to create a discussion where we can combine the information presented here with your lifelong experience as a teacher of history. This resource will discuss 21st century literacies in our classrooms and will answer these two questions using a film as a case study. Firstly, let's confirm what we mean by 21st century literacies. In this sense, we refer to 21st century literacies as a literacy pedagogy where we negotiate a multiplicity of discourses in the hope to build conditions where students can fully and equitably participate in society. This includes two aspects: extending cultural and linguistic diversity that results from globalized societies, and increasing the need to understand other representational forms. Basically, this means that society is changing. Therefore, so is the role literacies play in enabling participation. Students need to participate in this world, and we need to provide them with the literacy skills to do so. As we are academics in history, studying the discipline is an empowering way to achieve this. Historical narratives are instrumental in mobilizing groups for collective actions and can evoke social change. Just like the ripple effect from the radio, imagine what using a 21st century literacy pedagogy can do in a contemporary history classroom. So let's answer the first question. The answer is in three ways. Changing working lives. Just like the changes in our working lives as teachers, the working lives of our students have changed as well. Resulting from a globally driven economy, workplaces, including schools, are opting for a more flattened hierarchy, where a strong workplace culture is more important than ever. Open planning offices, working online, and using social media are all developments that may affect ours and our students' working life. With a new work life comes a new language, which our students need to be prepared for. Thinking and speaking for oneself, innovation, creativity, and learning how to learn are all new ways of thinking that are being carried out by new and emerging discourses. Changing public lives. Our students' worlds are also changing in their public lives or their roles as citizens. Now, an individual's access to wealth, power, and symbols should be equal no matter what their cultural or social background is. Again, we can see a focus on the individual instead of the masses and the development of civic pluralism where responsibilities to previously respectable institutions are changing. Flags, memorials, and holidays are all symbols that contribute to 21st century literacies and ultimately a student's connection to the wider community. Changing personal lives. Most notably, technology has allowed an invasion of private spaces where everyone is connected and our life worlds have become multi-layered. For example, it is now possible for a student to be friends with you on Facebook and see intimate details of your life. This has created a challenge where this overlap of life worlds has caused linguistic messages to lose their relevance and compete with global narratives. However, instead of using outdated paradigms that compete against each other, it is possible to create a space where specific meanings can be made. For those students who have few opportunities for participation, they are likely to be trapped as mere consumers and bystanders instead of producers, designers, and members of vibrant online and offline communities. It is up to us to teach them how. Which leads us to our second question. The answer is twofold. Firstly, it already is. In 2010, 25% of HSC results were marked through digital modes. Now, in 2018, 65% of markers worked online, but despite this development, the 2018 HSC still used a lot of traditional literate resources. There has been a fluctuation with enrolments in history, but the point is we are already combining 21st century literacies with traditional modes in our classrooms. As teachers, we are already multimodal. So how can we further incorporate 21st century literacies into the history discipline and develop our multimodality? Firstly, we need to look at the what within the 21st century literacy pedagogy. This what is also known as design. There are 6 elements of design, and as teachers, we can use all 6 elements simultaneously to create a new learning process. This process can also be considered as composing or organizing, as we as teachers orchestrate a layering of creative elements that are a blend of designer choices and decisions. How the consumer experiences the process is unique and matters independently to them. Now let's apply this concept to an example in history. This film is a 2018 documentary that has redesigned World War I footage into a multimodal product. The director or designer has reorganized the original product where the film has been slowed down, sharpened up, colored, given sound effects, dubbed, and made 3D. What was originally a silent black and white film has now been composed to become a multimodal learning resource. You are not expected to develop a skill set of this standard, but in this example we can see the use of creative intelligence and how the product itself is a reflection of the designer's social network and cultural systems. This leads us to the second part of the answer. The how within 21st century literacy pedagogies is based upon how knowledge is embedded into social, cultural, and material context. When contexts change, so does the delivery of knowledge, and this delivery can be broken down into 4 conventions that occur simultaneously. We most likely already use these conventions in our classroom. However, by connecting them to multimodal resources, we can better develop our 21st century literacy pedagogy and use the film as a case study to show you how. Situated practice positions the learner as the provider of knowledge instead of just us, the teacher. We also want students to bring their outside experiences so we can see the literacies students use to demonstrate pre-existing knowledge. In the case study, we could ask students to verbally discuss what they know about World War I, or ask them to share a family artifact if an ancestor was involved in the event. In overt instruction, we interact with students and help them understand what they are learning by using a meta-language of design and scaffold learning activities within the classroom community. In the case study, students are reinforced with a possibly outdated focus on the Great War. As such, we could provide essential contextual information that answers the how and why regarding the content. In critical framing, teachers help learners gain personal and theoretical distance from what they have learned so then be able to constructively critique it and innovate it for themselves. For example, the case study uses propaganda images and a common narrative of men at war. Teachers could undo this narrative and ask students to then design their own propaganda film based upon a different narrative. In transform practice, students transfer and recreate designs of meaning from one context to another. This becomes a reflective practice where students demonstrate how they can design and carry out their new understanding. The case study highlights the choices designers make so students could choose their own primary source and translate the message onto another medium to see how the meaning may have changed. For example, a written diary entry onto an audio recording. From this analysis, we can see that making meaning is an active process that is not governed by static rules, but changes, and it is up to us as teachers to decide on how we can design this change in our classrooms. By incorporating multimodal resources into lessons scaffolded upon the 4 conventions outlined, we can help our students become active, multiliterate persons. I hope this resource helps you on your journey in developing your 21st century literacy pedagogy. For more information, refer to the resources below.